The deeply ingrained idea that our earliest childhood bonds permanently dictate our emotional lives heavily saturates modern psychology. This premise traces back to psychiatrist and psychoanalyst John Bowlby. He argued that early infant caregiver interactions biologically hardwire our psychology. Developmental psychologist Mary Ainsworth expanded on this work, operationalizing Bowlby's theories into quantifiable categories. Their central assumption is the internal working model, proposing a direct path from infant care to a fixed adult attachment style. This model sorts human psychology into discrete classifications. Depending on your first 2 years, you are categorized as secure, anxious, or avoidant. This creates a deterministic worldview. It suggests that adult relationship success is permanently locked by the time we are toddlers. Global ethnography and modern longitudinal data fracture this rigid pipeline. The foundational studies of attachment theory relied on a highly specific mid-century Western cultural baseline. The theory remains immensely popular in clinical settings, which often protects its empirical gaps from rigorous scientific scrutiny. To understand human bonds, we must test the theory against evolutionary biology and advanced research methodology. If we strip away these ingrained Western biases, human attachment emerges not as a fixed law, but as a highly context-dependent relational strategy. Bowlby's evolutionary model relied on specific primates, like chimpanzees, which utilize possessive one-to-one caregiving. He used this to define monotropy. He assumed infants have an intrinsic biological need for a single primary caregiver. However, many other primate species utilize cooperative child-rearing, passing newborns readily among different members of the group. This strategy is called alloparenting. It is the actual evolutionary tactic utilized by pre-human ancestors and modern hunter-gatherers. The Efe people of the Congo provide a prime ethnographic example of this distributed care. By 6 weeks of age, Efe infants spend more time with allomothers than with their biological mothers. The biological imperative for monotropy is an evolutionary misinterpretation. Humans survived by utilizing distributed, cooperative care. In the 1970s, Mary Ainsworth attempted to test Bowlby's theories in a laboratory setting. She designed a clinical environment to study how 1-year-olds reacted to stress and unfamiliarity. This timeline shows the strange situation procedure, a 21-minute protocol of 8 specific steps. In Step 4, the mother leaves the infant with a stranger to test stranger danger. In Step 6, the infant is left entirely alone to measure separation anxiety. The infant's behavior when the mother returns determines their lifelong attachment classification. This procedure assumes that separation anxiety is a universal biological indicator of security. It attempts to standardize a highly subjective human emotion. This global data establishes a baseline for the US and UK. Roughly 65% of infants are classified as secure, 21% as avoidant, and 14% as anxious. However, northern Germany shows a statistical anomaly. Here, 52% of infants are classified as avoidant. In Japan, the avoidant classification disappears entirely, replaced by a massive spike in anxious classifications. Traditional Japanese child rearing emphasizes intense physical closeness. Because separation is so rare, it is exceptionally stressful for the child. Conversely, the Bang people of West Africa actively encourage their children to welcome strangers. This renders the stranger danger metric totally invalid. The strange situation tracks an infant's conformity to localized cultural expectations. It measures social conditioning. It does not reveal an innate biological architecture. This brings us to the ultimate test, longitudinal predictive power. Do these infant classifications actually predict adult behavior? Researcher Michael Lamb conducted correlational studies evaluating the link between early attachment and adult social competence. This scatterplot shows a strong apparent link between secure infant attachment and social competence in adulthood. The data changes when researchers control for the stability of a child's social background. Once income, housing, and social support are controlled, the correlation collapses to 5%. If a family's social circumstances change between tests, the child's attachment classification usually changes along with them. The strange situation acts as a mirror. It reflects the infant's current environmental and socioeconomic stability. This shifting nodal network represents the dynamic maturational model. This approach replaces the deterministic flowchart with a system that rewires itself through experience. External variables like peer groups, socioeconomic shifts, and adolescent life events continually overwrite our early programming. Humans evolved for extreme social plasticity. We are designed to adapt to shifting community structures. Early childhood care provides a foundational emotional vocabulary. It does not write a permanent, unalterable psychological script. If the foundational claims are empirically flawed, why do therapies based on them succeed? Modern clinical practices like emotionally focused therapy and EMDR utilize attachment vocabulary as a functional tool. Emotionally focused therapy uses this language to identify active patterns of proximity and withdrawal in adult couples. Terms like anxious or avoidant provide a shorthand for adults to communicate unmet needs and regulate present-day stress. Effective therapy recalibrates an adult's active relational strategies. This process focuses on present-day adaptation. It moves the focus away from a frozen infant state. Attachment theory survives as a dynamic framework for understanding how we negotiate safety and connection. This utility is its true scientific legacy. Its predictive power as a developmental blueprint is secondary.